In this week's episode of Renovate Ed, Allison Copeland, Senior Architectural Designer at Custom Living, Inc., joins Jennifer, the Reno Gal Goldsby, to guide homeowners through the renovation process from initial planning to execution. They emphasize the importance of communication, budgeting, and selecting the right professionals to ensure a successful renovation experience. And they share valuable insights on managing expectations, understanding the remodeling process, and addressing design challenges. Let's get renovated.
I want to talk to you about what a homeowner can expect during the renovation project, because I feel like this is the piece that they know the least about. They get the most excited about renovating, but they have zero understanding of what it's going to be like through the process. So I do want to get into that, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So first, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Homeowner decides they want to take on a renovation project. Where do they begin?
That's a great question. I would always recommend clients to talk to their family and friends who've remodeled before, go through their experience, like what they loved about it, what they would do differently next time, what expectations were set with the contractor, how was their process. I think that's just a huge starting point, getting to know what their experience was like. If you don't have anybody that has gone through that, I would recommend going to like social media, like Facebook groups, neighborhood groups. Put a message out, say, hey, we're looking to do X, Y, and Z. Does anybody have any recommendations? What was good? What was bad? As another area of, just referral, how the contractor did as well. And then once you start layering in that, then you can do your research. So go online, go to Google, just search, different general contractors or subcontractors. Questions that I would definitely ask those individuals is what's your process like from starting to the end point, and then layer in, what's your budget? How do you do your budget? What products that you use? Because products within that can, change the budget within as well. Just ask those questions. Big ones are they insured and bonded too? I think that's really important, just because if something does happen on site, they have insurance. It's not going to be pulled on your insurance. So definitely ask that question. And also see if they're good with the city. Do they have a great relationship with the city? And is this project something that we need to pull a permit for? Permits are a good protection for the clients. So I recommend doing that. I know it's a little bit more money in the budget, a couple $100, but it's worth the security, the safety, knowing that the contractor's doing it correctly as well. Just asking how the relationship with the city is, I think, is really important. And then layering in at the end your schedule, like how far out are you? What's your time frame? How long do you think the project's going to take? And then what's your payment schedules like? Some companies do a third. Some companies, like Custom Living, we have milestone payments. And so we work with you with a bank, or if they do cash, we'll work with them for there. So start with referrals, then go from there, see what other questions the referrals also bring up. Say, hey, next time, I would have asked these questions from there. So that's where I would start.
I think there were some great pieces of advice in there. I don't know that I ever would have suggested somebody talk to family about what the process looked like. I always suggest they talk to family about referrals.
Right, yeah.
But I don't know that I've ever thought to suggest chat with them and get a feel for what it was like through the process. And I love the comment about the permits too. People don't often realize that there are repercussions if you don't get the proper permits. Right. So for example, in some areas of the country, a garage conversion is allowed.
Right.
In other areas, not allowed. And we've seen time and time again, it'll pop up on an appraisal. Somebody goes to sell their house. Their garage has been converted into living space unpermitted.
Right.
Guess what? Can't close until you rip it all out.
Right.
And revert back to a garage. So
that's unfortunate too.
Yeah. And that's just one example of many.
Yep.
But it can have repercussions down the line. So don't skip the permitting.
Right.
I
Exactly.
love that.
Yeah.
And asking about the licensing and the bonding is important as well.
Yep. It's just protection, security, peace of mind at the end. So when you go to sell, you have that document saying, hey, the city approved this, or X, Y, and Z happened. So it's just another layer of protection.
Yeah. And we didn't really talk about licensing, like vetting licensing. Now, if you're working with a lender, they'll probably do that for you. But oftentimes permits require licensing or registration.
Right.
So you kind of kill two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
By your work permitted. Let me ask another question. Do you recommend that they start with their budget, trying to identify like how much they're comfortable spending or how much they can spend, or finding a contractor first, or does it matter?
I think there are two different trains. You can start talking to general contractors, get their process, and then you can dive into what they think the market looks like. One great resource is the National Association for Builders. It's a great resource. They go in every year and do data points of the region that you're living in, and then they have a list of like 20 projects, so kitchens, bathrooms, basements. You can go in and they can tell you based off of the region how much basements are cost, and there's a range, good, better, best. And I think that's a great starting point, just so you know how much it's going to cost. Because with the market these days, I think a lot of people just don't know. They think it's X from like 10 years ago, but really it's more. So I think doing research, going on, Google online, Builders Association, Baggy is another resource here locally. They have great resources of budget. There's tons of estimating software programs too. You can start for free, and then if you want to dive into it. But the general contractor can give you advice and education behind the ranges too, and that's where I help our clients is, okay, I see the scope of work. I think we're going to be between this and this. Give them bookends, and then that's where we can start the conversation. If they think, okay, yeah, we can manage this, or that's a little bit higher, then that's where I can come in and say, okay, well, we can do X, Y, and Z. We can phase it out. We can, look at maybe more cost effective. If you're looking at a kitchen, appliances is a huge ticket, a line item, and so we can work together on that. So I think it's a little bit of both. You can do both at the same time. And then that way you feel comfortable deciding on which path you want to go with the contractor, saying, hey, this is where, based off our information, what we feel comfortable with, this is where we want to agree upon the budget. But agreeing upon the budget ahead of time with that contractor, I think, is important, and letting them know, hey, this is where we want to be at, and then they can work around that from there.
Yeah. And then, of course, they really have a couple different options. If they have a project in mind, they've got a vision, and they have a limited budget, either you scale back on the scope of work, or if you're paying cash and that's why your budget is so limited, maybe tap into home equity to help cover the difference.
You can do a hybrid, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, and I think that's where we can educate them on the different avenues of cash or HELOC or whatever. And I think that's where a lot of people are like, oh, cool, yeah, now this is more feasible.
Yeah, absolutely. So homeowner is going to head down this path. They've kind of identified maybe a couple of contractors or designers. They're shopping, they're vetting out who they want to hire. What questions would they ask of their designer and their contractor?
Yeah, those are great questions. I actually get a lot of those. What's the process? What does that look like? Each contractor design firm has a different process. Ours is pretty much, the pre-sale process, pre-construction process, and then construction process. So we keep it simple from there. But also, again, referrals. Can I go see a project? Can I go talk to somebody that's actually been in the experience? I always bring that up. Like, just finished this project that's really similar to yours. I would love for you guys to connect with them, just so you get a third-party view from there. And then just you look at their portfolio. What projects have they done? Do they meet kind of what your visions down the road, fit and finish wise? And then again, you can layer in, how are you guys with the city, the permit? What do you do? Another big thing is, how do they do their pricing and estimating? Some contractors, which is totally fine, they give you like a lump sum with some details, which is great. With custom living, we take it to the next level. We do a very detailed estimate. That way it's transparent, and it makes them feel comfortable of, okay, I know where my money's going and what cost is going where. I think that eases the stress of just, I know what's going on. I have some control over X, Y, and Z. So starting there, and then I always like to know, like, what makes you different than somebody else? Why should I hire you versus X? It's just a good question to ask, because it's a relationship. It's like dating. You want to make sure you're comfortable with them, that you trust them, because you're going to be with them for a long time. It could be 6 months, it could be 18 months. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable with them and vice versa, because you're going to be together for a long time.
Yeah, and they're going to be in your space, your personal space.
Yeah. So at the end, it's usually, I always say, this is not a closeout meeting, it's a celebration, because we've been together for so long. We're celebrating the change, the formation, but it's not a goodbye, it's a see you later, because they're family, and I know that we have that connection, that bond, and that's what I love about the job too, is meeting so many people and impacting their lives.
Yeah, that is the fun part. So in the mortgage world, if I'm working on a traditional loan, it takes about 30 days to close. A renovation loan may take anywhere from 30 to 60 days, and then you may live with that customer
Right.
for, like you said, 6, 9, 12 months or beyond. And I often feel at the end of the deal, because mortgages are so tough, that it's just a tough transaction. There's a
Yeah.
lot involved. You know, we've laughed together, we've cried together, we've gotten upset together. Like
Yep.
we've
Your
gone
family
through
by then,
a whole
yeah.
bunch of emotions, and yeah, we've got a relationship by then.
Yeah, you do, which is great because then at the end you can get referrals, or if they, 5 years down the road they want to buy a new house or something, they have that trust, that base with you.
Yeah, it's kind of my favorite part of the business.
Yeah.
Working with the homeowner. We've talked about how the homeowner can identify whether or not the designer and the contractor is a good fit for them. What about the reverse? Are there projects that are not a good fit for you guys? Maybe projects that are too small? Or
Some projects might be too small. Our limit is how many trades do we need, and then also just the budget. Is it something that is going to benefit the company? Can we fit it in our schedule? So there are unfortunately some projects we're just not the right fit. There's someone probably better that can do it, maybe quicker, a little bit more cost effective for them. So yeah, and that's part of the industry, is you can't get them all right.
Right.
But I want to make sure they're educated, and I always tell them, hey, I'm not the right fit, but I'm always an advocate for you. So if you have any questions or anything, like, feel free to get a hold of me, because construction industry, a lot of people can be very intimidated by, and I want to make sure that the clients have somebody else that can be like someone is safe they can talk to, and then if they're having issues, or hey, it went great, awesome, just it is what it is. But I think at the end of the day, just being the advocate's really important to me.
yeah, I appreciate that transparency. I had an experience. I wanted a metal roof, and one of the roofers came to the door and was trying to sell me a rubber roof. And it's like, why are you wasting my time and yours? That's not what I asked for. It's not what I want. So I love the transparency of, we're not a good fit for you. But then also we have such a great network here in Indianapolis. So surely if you can't do something.
Right. And I've done
you
that
have to
before. I'm like, hey, I think this person would do a great job. I trust them with my home. And then just say, hey, this is just a recommendation, and then they can figure that out if that partnership works out or not. But yeah, the resource, it's a big but small industry here.
Right. Yep. All right. Just out of curiosity, given my background, how are your homeowners generally funding their renovation projects?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting right now with the market. It's about 50-50, I would say. 50% cash, 50% of some hybrid loan, HELOC, or they pull money from their money market area. So I would say that's where I see a lot right now. I mean, it just like COVID time with how low the interest rates were. A lot of people were pulling the loans because they were 1-2%. It's kind of like free cash. So really, I think it's shifted back to about 50-50 right now.
Okay, that's interesting.
Contractors, how many times have you spent time bidding a job only to have the homeowner back out because the cost was more than they expected? Or worse, you do the work and then get ghosted on the final payment. There's a better way. Renovation mortgages. These loans let homeowners finance the full cost of improvements, so sticker shock doesn't kill the deal. Even better, your payment is guaranteed as long as the work is completed properly. There's no cost to you. Jobs can't be canceled midway. And you'll get connected with real estate agents, consultants, and inspectors, helping grow your referral network. Want to stop wasting time and start converting more bids into sales? Visit therenogal.com or call 844-RENO-GAL today.
Right. So homeowner has ironed out their budget. They've selected their designer and contractor. What does that process look like through the remodel?
The remodel part. This is the fun part, obviously. And this is what I love about custom living. We actually have a mascot. His name is Sir Humphreys.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. He is a double hump camel.
Okay.
And I'll get through that. We want to make sure expectations, education, and experience is important during this project or this stage. And so Sir Humphreys is just a symbol of the highs and the lows during construction. So when I tell people there's going to be highs when demo's going to happen, when we're doing our rough-ins. It's really exciting. And then we hit drywall, and it hits a very low point, and it takes forever to dry, especially in certain points of the season. So expect the highs and the lows. And then when we get the countertops in, now you get so excited, which is great because they're seeing the finished product. So you got the high going on. But then I have to tell them, hey, we got a couple more weeks to go, unfortunately. So then they're like, oh, this is a bummer. But that's the ups, highs and lows of contract in doing that project. And one thing that we do at Custom Living to help kind of even that out is weekly meetings. Just checking in with our clients. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling? What questions do you have? I think that's really important, just to check them, especially if you have family members. How are you guys doing with the everyday lifestyle without a kitchen? And what can we do to help you out? Because it's going to be a stress point. It's going to, you're going to hit fatigue too, at a point where you're like, I am just done. I'm done. And that's okay. As long as you communicate that with your contractor, be like, hey, I need a break. I think that helps throughout the process as well. And communication too is huge. If we do a big text group, letting everyone know what's going on, or if something comes up or changes, those weekly meetings, again, it just eases the stress, because you're disrupting this house and you don't know what's going to happen or what's going on. And I think that's just ask those questions, like, how do you guys communicate? What do you guys do in those stress points? But it goes back to earlier, having that great relationship with the contractor designer, that those high points and those low points are going to be easier to manage as well.
Yeah, I think the low point for me when I was remodeling was the period where the cabinets had been installed, but we were waiting on the countertops.
Yep.
And I was washing dishes in the bathroom.
Right.
And it was so
you can
disgusting.
See it. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that was a tough part.
Yep.
I love the comments about communication and
Yeah.
the weekly call and the group text. I think those are excellent.
Yeah. We made that change about 6 years ago, just because of just what's going on, and it's just the consistency of it. And I make it a point to make sure I check in with my clients, because I've been on the other side. I've seen it, and I can just tell in their body and their language and just like how they are reacting to it. And I think that's the biggest thing of what makes us different too, is just that connection. Like, how are you guys doing? And I think it goes a long way.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Because the feedback that I'm getting from homeowners, and now, mind you, we work across the nation.
Right.
But the feedback I get is I'm not hearing from my contractor.
Right.
They
Yep.
were supposed to show up, this morning.
Right.
Nobody's here.
Right.
It's 3:00 in the afternoon. I don't know if they're coming today.
Yep.
There's tons of
Yep.
miscommunication.
Oh yeah. That's one of the big, like, top things people are just like frustrated about. And it's not fair to our industry, but yeah, as long as you ask those questions, like, how do you communicate? What do you do in certain situations? It just makes them accountable too, and understanding what's going on. Because you're waiting around all day, and that's not fair. You have to go do X, Y, and Z, or go pick up the kids or something.
They took time off of work.
Right, exactly. And so we at Custom Living want to make sure that we are respectful too at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we've got a client that we're working on together, a shared client. And this family, they're building a new addition to add some space, of course, but kind of building out a mudroom. And it's been really super exciting to watch this come to
Yeah.
fruition. I got to see the design plans before closing.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And then now I'm seeing the draw photos come in at each draw. The work looks fantastic.
Oh, good.
And
Good.
it's just a clean job site, too.
We tried it. That's a pet peeve of ours, is clean. Making sure everyone's safe is huge for us.
Yeah. I was surprised because usually the photos I see.
Oh yeah, you see the other ones.
Even the finished. I mean, we had one come in the other day from Northern Indiana, and the final inspection, there was construction debris everywhere.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, guys, clean this up before
Yeah.
you take a photo and send me
Right,
a final
exactly.
inspection.
Yeah, because you can't really see. You focus on that and not the actual product that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see the finished product here. But tell me about some other success stories that you have.
I actually have one project that's wrapping up in Traders Point area, and I've been working with this family for 18 months. And originally we were supposed to do an addition, is what they called us in for. And once we got there, I realized, I was like, we don't need to do an addition. We just need to reorganize this house. Like, let's figure out the space planning of it. We have plenty of square footage. And so during that design phase, her mom lives with them. So we were able to design an ADA bathroom for her so that she can come, use her wheelchair and just giving her that freedom without really having that frustration. So we worked on that and then just reorganized the spaces. So the front room was more like a sitting room turned into the client's office. Now she has her own space. And then we kind of flipped the dining room and family room around, which I think called for it. You can kind of just tell when you walk in. And then the back half of the house, the mechanicals were just kind of like, I use this phrase a lot, a hot mess. And so we were able to reorganize it. We were able to design the laundry room so that grandma can actually go back there and do some laundry herself and really feel comfortable and have that freedom again. So working with them, working through all of that, and we're wrapping it up within the next couple of weeks. And it's a totally different house. Just the feel of it, the structural elements we did, the safety, and then just adding insulation is a huge thing. Like getting the right insulation, the house feels balanced. You can tell just like the uplift of freedom, the joy. Everyone's so excited, just the new flow and function. The kids have their space, they have their organization area, and that's what makes me excited is seeing that, knowing, hey, they had a certain budget and they didn't want to go over it, and we were able to really capitalize on the square footage that was there, what we can do, what finishes, the trim details we can put in their budget. It's just a brand new house, and it's really exciting to see it, and hopefully get to wrap it up here within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. And that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels so good.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a good before and after for sure.
So when you say you reorganized the space, did you move walls? Did you change the footprint of the home?
We didn't really change too much of the footprint. The back room, we added some closets for like the water softener. They went from like a tank to a tankless water heater. We added a powder bathroom. So we added walls, and then structurally the roof was having some issues. So we were able to go up there and redo all that. So we felt safe in all the load points and everything. Yeah. So painted the whole house, and just a whole house paint is amazing at what it does. We went from like, she had like a dark kind of gray tones, and now we're whites and brights, and it's just, it's a brand new house.
It does make a good deal of difference. Yeah. I went from darks to, actually I used to be a fan of a different color in every room. Don't ask me why.
That's okay.
And very bold colors.
Bold is coming back too.
Is it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now I do like the lighter grays or blues. Like I tend to lean towards that, or maybe beiges. I like a nice, light, bright house now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's, a lot of people are going to that warm, natural kind of element. But the funny thing in this project, we did the powder bathroom. We went with a purple trim detail and then like a jungle theme wallpaper. So
That's
this is
be interesting.
I'll show you pictures, but it turned out great. And that's the wife's, like her powder bathroom she's always wanted, and it turned out amazing. It looks fantastic. So that was her pop of color, was back in the powder bathroom.
That is fun. I like it. I'm glad you talked about the design piece because I do not have a design bone in my body.
Yeah.
So in my mind, as a designer, you've got your talents and skills, and then the homeowner has their desires and their visions, and having to blend the two, I would think would be a very difficult thing. Is that your biggest challenge?
It can be. What I try to do is ask discovery questions just up front, so I can kind of get an idea of like how their days are, like how do they wake up, do they have coffee, like how the functionality of the house, and then layer in styles. Okay, what are you guys looking for? The architecture of the house is X. I do use Pinterest boards a lot just to make sure I am hearing them and understanding them, and then that helps them like, oh yeah, we really like this, or we really don't like this. Not having all the yeses is great, because then if they say no, we hate this, then that's great too. And then trying to blend, okay, we can do this style with this product to give you that within your budgets. Problem solving is something I love doing, so I think that's where I thrive at as well. But just those first couple discovery questions really help me understand, okay, their style, what they're looking for. And then from there, I can layer in products of, in a kitchen, like, hey, there's this accessory, there's this, we can do that, X, Y, and Z. And it's the fun part of it, putting, like you said, the puzzle together and then layering everything together.
Do you run into situations where wife wants one thing, husband wants another?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And that's okay. And that's where you kind of have to be Switzerland. It's like, okay, I hear you, but let me recommend this. And does that work for you? And you kind of have to balance and say, okay, that's great. Love the idea. Let's maybe shift it and do this instead, that because it's in your budget. Or, hey, let's go crazy and I can do this and then it's X. What do you guys want to do? And then they're in control of making that decision.
Yeah.
So, but usually one person's pretty dominant than the other. And so it's trying to figure out, okay, what they want, what they're looking for. But in the last couple of years, it's a lot of them are on the same page, which is easy and fun.
That is easier.
Yeah. But yeah, you'll have the ones that are just complete opposite, and then how do you blend that together? So I think that's the fun challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, before we wrap up, do you have any tips for people who are looking to do a remodel?
I would say, yeah, just do your research. Also, if you're looking to do your own DIY yourself, I would kind of take an audit of what skill sets you feel comfortable doing. My husband loves to do certain projects at a certain period of time. He is not the best tile guy, and I hate drywall. So that's where we kind of do an audit of, okay, who would we hire out and why? We love demo, so we can do demo, but I would definitely hire out any electricians, plumbers, mechanical, HVAC, because they're insured, they're licensed, they're going to do it. And to me, that's worth paying them to do that. They're typically the more expensive trades because they go to trade school for it in drywall. I don't like drywall. So I would hire those out. And then that way you can say, okay, we're going to do demo, paint, trim work, etc., and then we'll hire out those trades. And I think that helps if you're in a tighter budget. And again, just asking those questions: how do you do your work? Referrals? What do we need from there? But yeah, skill set's a huge one if you're trying to do it on a more cost savings. But then if you're trying to hire out a contractor, look for someone that can do everything, because it's a one-stop shop. It's less stress. You don't have to manage an architect. You don't have to manage the GC and all the trades. It's one point person as well that you can call or talk to, and everything flows a lot easier.
Yeah. And I would say, if I could add anything to that, in my observation, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And within trades too, there's good, better, best trades, and the products that they use, how they do prep with painters, for example, makes the whole difference. And they might be a little bit more than the other ones, but to me, it's, goes back to the referrals. Why are they more expensive than X? And then that person can tell you why within that. But yeah, you do get what you pay for. You learn a lot too as you go through this experience. And that's where I think if you have older generations like my parents, why did you hire that person? Why'd you do that? And then they can give you their feedback as well from there.
That is good advice. We've seen some pretty sloppy drywall work,
Yeah.
and trim work, and painting too.
Yeah.
If I can see it in the photos, oh my goodness, I can't imagine what it looks like in real life. That would drive me crazy, having to walk past that every day.
Right. Yeah. I would too. Being in the industry too. Yeah. That would drive me crazy.
So if there are folks out there who are looking to do any kind of renovation, how would they get in touch with you?
So we have 6 designers on staff. I'm one of 6, and we do the metro area. So based off of location and also logistics of our team, if you're interested, I would go to our website, customliving.com, and then you can request an appointment. And then our VP of sales will reach out to you and start the conversation, kind of dive into what the project is, what you're looking for, just that conversation starter. And then from there, we'll look at next steps.
And you said metro area. To clarify for our listeners, Indianapolis,
but we also go from like Zionsville to Geist up to Westfield, and then downtown, like Fountain Square would probably be the most south we go right now.
Good to know. Well, thanks so much.
This was great. This was fun. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Now the legalese required to appease attorneys, compliance officers, and regulators. This podcast is hosted by Jennifer Goldsby, NMLS number 591226, Vice President, Renovation Lending. The topics discussed herein reflect my personal opinion. They do not represent the opinions of Diamond Residential Mortgage Corporation and its management. Discussions about loan programs in this podcast are not a commitment to make a loan. Programs, approvals, rates, fees, and loan terms are subject to loan applications, credit risk, appraisal evaluation, underwriting guidelines, and other lending or qualification criteria and limitations, and are subject to change without notice. Not all products are available in all states. Not all borrowers will qualify. Diamond Residential Mortgage Corporation, 582 Oakwood Avenue, Lake Forest, Illinois, 60045, 847 244-9301, NMLS number 186805. For licensing information, go to nmlsconsumeraccess.org/entity details.aspx/company/186805. Equal housing opportunity. Diamond Residential Mortgage Corporation is not affiliated with or acting on behalf of or at the direction of FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or any governmental body or agency.